race for the Muscle and Touring cars. Bruce Anderson off the pole, Craig McDermott from 2. Second row start for Logan Childs alongside Kevin Hyde. 4 very different cars inside the top 4. Row 3 start for Richard Wright alongside Rod Gimblett. And it's a row 4 start for Stephen Brown-Thomas and David Geraghty in the Mitsubishi Evo. Row 5, it's Paul Mill in the BMW Z3M Coupe, Mike Ellis back to Bruce McRae in the thundering Monaro, Maurice Shapley in the later shaped Monaro. Row 7 start for Sean Van Beers, Bill McKinnon in the Kobe Exhaust Pre-65 Chevy Nova, Roy Bingley in the Commodore, and Mike Dias in another Commodore. Race 1 for the Muscle and Touring cars from Hamilton in slightly drying conditions as the lights go out. Watch for Logan Childs to get a flyer from the second row, and Mork, you got that call right. It's exactly what he did, but Bruce Anderson's trying to get the horsepower down, and they've got a Subaru on the outside, and understeering off into the boonies.
Yeah, just right in there, just couldn't get the car turned down, perhaps locked the wheel, but look, he done all the hard work getting up the thirds, getting shuffled through, but man, these guys just showing so much courtesy to each other, but that could all come unstuck coming into turn 2 here, because the haze now becomes a factor, all these guys. So far, you must say, Jamie, very gentleman-like. That was Stephen Brown-Thomas just understeering under brakes into turn number 1. There's Paul Mill going through that unique BMW Z3. So Logan Childs with the race lead look like David Geraghty's got up into that second position in the second of the Mitsubishi Evos. And Bruce Anderson with 700 plus horsepower underneath his right foot and rear-wheel drive in the big Mustang is holding on to third for the moment from the Subaru of Stephen Brown-Thomas. Say for the moment, I think you're correct there. You can't help but think it's going to be four-wheel drives first, second or third by the conclusion of lap 1 here. Bruce Anderson, he'll be having so much fun because he enjoys driving this car. Rain, hail or shine. At the moment, we've got the rain part of the equation. Here we go back to turn 5. So this is where the four-wheel drive will come into its own through this tight technical part of the track. Again, visibility is going to be the bigger issue as you get sort of through the field. So Logan Childs won't have too many of those issues out in front on this first lap. There's Kevin Hyde in the Herb Morgan BMW M3. Maurice Shapley's made a pretty good start as well from a little bit further back on the grid. It's a lot drier over the back of the circuit than, say, it is over turns 2 and 3 onto the back straight through the chicane. Yeah, not completely unsurprising because there's not a great deal of trees and everything around this part of the track. So we saw that earlier in the weekend. One part of the track was dry, the other part was actually raining. So part of the fortunes, but here we go. BMW versus BMW. Kevin Hyde somewhat underpowered, although you could say that he had a big engine in a straight line. Yeah, Paul Mill in that beautiful Race FX built BMW Z3M Coupe. It is a stunning, stunning little motor vehicle. Runs in the open class in the Castrol BMW race series. Also races in the GT category. Some of the racing around New Zealand. It's Logan Childs chased by David Geraghty. So Childs is in the traditional production car, basically Group M trim. Geraghty is an SS2000, so that car will be a little bit more highly modified than Logan Childs' example. It's still four-wheel drive, so you can't help but think he could actually be in the box seat here as this race starts to unfold and the drivers get a bit of confidence, know where the braking markers is, knows where the throttle application points are. It's turn 3 and here's the peak antifreeze replay. Maurice Shapley with the big dive down the inside of Kevin Hyde. Did he make the corner? The answer is he did. God, he done a good job of stopping that, I must say. Very good job for the big Monaro. He's certainly giving away a lot of weight to Kevin Hyde's BMW M3. I wonder if Kevin actually's got a problem because he's dropped right back now into that traffic behind Shapley, as we've sort of alluded. That's a very quick little race car. Oh. Paul Mill getting it wrong. Mate, I guarantee Paul Mill, if he doesn't come in for a change of undies right now, it'll be an act of God because he had that thing so far out of control that I don't know what caused it to come back in a straight line. Skill? Who knows? Faith? Faith, yeah, it could be faith. Oh, so a wild moment there for Paul Mill, but I'm just wondering behind him if Kevin Hyde maybe he's having visibility problems with the little M3 because he has dropped right back. It isn't a four-wheel drive car like these. There's David Geraghty there in the second position. He's one of the front runners in the SS2000 Championship. There's another peak antifreeze replay, and this will be Paul Mill getting it wrong. Oh, look, it come back around. Probably it was a bit more dramatic the first time we saw it, but when you put the chicane and then you put the curbs into the equation, you throw a bit of rain in. Not the best combination to have, I must say, but Bruce Anderson is doing a sterling job there in third place. He's just circulating, nothing really working for it. 700 horsepower on a wet road-going track. It's just the mileage and the experience showing there, but Logan Childs, fastest man on the track at the moment at a 149.5. Garrity car second. It's actually at a 149.8, so not a great deal of speed difference between those two.
Bruce Anderson doing 150.3, so he's not giving away too much to the four-wheel drives. And if it does dry a little bit, mind you, I think it'd have to dry pretty significantly for Bruce to really become a factor trying to battle these more modern four-wheel drive turbo four-cylinders. Anderson in the big Mustang. There's Garrity going through, still in that second position. Got the track cam through the chicane.
Look how they're just tiptoeing through there, aren't they? Staying off the curbs.
Anderson getting the power down. Speaking of big Fords, there's the big black Falcon Coupe chased by the Chevy Nova. 99 is Mike Ellis, this 1974 Ford Falcon Coupe. Sinister looking car in black, and Bill McKinnon in the Kobe exhaust Chevy Nova.
They're just tiptoeing around, aren't they? Given these two cars' pedigrees in the era they were built in, they are built very strong cars, and as we said, it's probably the only two cars that concrete walls would be afraid of. Normally it's the other way around. You just see these guys just tiptoeing around. Look, they'll be having a lot of fun out there. Trying conditions for them, no doubt.
That part of the track just going through there, Mark, turn number 3, that was actually flooded this morning. The track was closed up until probably half an hour before the scheduled race start time earlier on this morning.
Yeah, look, as we've alluded to before, it's the first time we've seen these conditions here at the ITM 400 Hamilton track here, so probably caught the boys a little bit unawares, but it just proves how organised this whole infrastructure is here, Jamie, because they got the track cleared, drains cleared, and the racing and everything resumed on time. So congratulations, guys. Good job.
This is a battle for 9th and 10th between Richard Ryan and Rod Gimblett. Gimblett's car is a former NZ V8. As Kevin Hyde continues to battle on, and he's back there with one of the smaller Honda Integras, Sean Van Beers. So Logan Childs leads from David Garrity with Bruce Anderson in third at the halfway mark of race 1 for the muscle and touring cars here from the ITM 400. So battle on track here for the race lead. David Garrity is right with Logan Childs. We're at the halfway point of race 1.
All right, Jamie, so I'm just going to jump in here real quick. That car second in view right now, the 98 car, doing all the hard work, the Garrity car. That car has no rain light. There you see, you saw the magnificent shots of the back of it. Right, in these stages, because the race has been declared wet, they have to put the red tail lights on, or the red high visibility lights. Now, you see one car has it, one car doesn't, although you think that's brake lights. He's actually been given a black flag for that, so we're going to see that car either come into pit lane or have a penalty imposed at the end of it.
And the second of the cars that's got that call is the big green Monaro of Bruce McRae. So 2 cars getting called on race control.
Yeah, and all it is a matter, if he turns the headlights on, of course it's going to turn the tail lights on at the same time. So that's all he has to do to rectify that problem. Now, the call might have come through to him because he's seen he's getting a bit racy coming off turn 9 there. Sideways, he's making a pass for the lead, but of course this means nothing at this stage because he's going to have some form of penalty opposed to him.
Well, he's gone down the inside looking for the race lead. Logan Childs, Garrity's just set the fastest lap of the race at a 1:47.3 versus Logan Childs at a 1:47.8. So the track is getting a little bit quicker, and again, the rain just lightens up. It's been quite patchy. 1 minute it's heavy, 1 minute it's light. It's really hard to read in these conditions.
Part of being a racing driver, and of course the associated teams, you've got to read the weather. It's not always dry. The brave are rewarded, but also the intelligent get rewarded as well.
Well, these two are now starting to get away from Bruce Anderson. Anderson has dropped back. He's about 7 seconds away from this battle for the race lead. So just looking at the 2 cars, Garrity's example, as we said, is a little bit more highly modified than Logan Childs' car, but I'd say Logan's probably got the restrictors out of what is basically a Group N spec production car. And in dry conditions, he'd be running in on the slicks, of course.
Very, very wide through turn 1. Managed to gather it back up in time.
Yeah, McRae's got the horsepower. I think Roy Bingley might have missed a couple of gears there coming out of turn number 1. That's a 6-cylinder Holden Commodore.
This is certainly something else because it's... Oh, here we go. Sideways very early. Now down the escape road.
Back up down the escape road. He's going to turn it back around and continue on. But Roy Bingley with a big moment there under brakes into turn number 2.
Got that wrong a long way out of the corner too, didn't he?
Yeah, you picked that up pretty early. He was battling there with Bruce McRae in the muscle car.
Just surfing along. Here's the Kevin Hyde car. Of course, we saw that quite competitive qualifying, dropping back down the field.
Yeah, well, he's in the 6th position chasing down Morris Shapley. 7th is Van Beers in the little Honda Integra, another one of the SS2000 cars. They had multiple classes racing in the Motor Oils SS2000 Championship.
Interesting, the word must have come through from the Garrity team because he now has his headlights on. No, sorry, wrong car.
In the pits.
Here we go. So that's a drive-through alluding to.
Yeah.
Sorry, mate, picked up the wrong car there. So
he may not have radio communication with his team. That might be the issue that they've had, and they've not been able to relay the fact that he needed to turn his headlights on. So, unfortunately for the race leader, he's had to pit under a black flag for not having his lights on in these very, very tricky conditions. So Logan Childs back into the race lead and Bruce Anderson.
Look, sorry, it might actually in fact turn the headlights on. He hasn't activated the rain light, whatever activates it in that car. So the team seems to be somewhat confident they've fixed the problem. And away he goes again.
Garrity will rejoin, but that's ruined his race. Logan Childs takes over the race lead. He's got an 8.3 second advantage over Bruce Anderson. Paul Mill now up into third in the BMW Z3M Coupe. They're just tiptoeing through that chicane area, aren't they?
I don't want to be too aggressive, because if you are, the results can be catastrophic. But talk about cars that are tiptoeing their way through. We saw Bruce Anderson earlier in the race get somewhat a little bit confident, and the thing lit itself up coming out of there. Yeah,
so did Paul Mill, I think, on the lap before that. This is a beautiful little race car. It was a road-going BMW Z3 converted into a race car by Race FX in Auckland. See, it's got all the rear diffuser and everything on it, the big rear wing.
To the front of the car as well, the big bib on there, so looking for maximum downforce. Of course, that's what's needed at these street circuits. Very low speed, low grip tracks at that.
So Paul Mill in the third position, runs in the open class in the Castrol BMW Series and the NZGT class, running with the GT1s and GT2s around the country. So it's Logan Childs leading from Bruce Anderson. Paul Mill in third, Morris Shapley fourth, Kevin Hyde now up into fifth, and then it's Sean Van Beers in sixth in the deceptively quick little Honda Integra. Six-cylinder power for the Z3M Coupe.
Right, the other thing that's going to come into factor here, we've just been informed, the boys in control of this race, that they're going to shorten this by 1 lap. Now, that's probably for the time restraints that we're facing this weekend.
So that's the last lap board out on the start-finish line now for Logan Childs. So there is the race leader. Bruce Anderson is about 8 seconds down the road in the second position. So this is the last lap run now for Logan Childs in the Bajent Motors Mitsubishi Evo. Came back into motor racing this past season after destroying the car in Christchurch at Powerville Raceway in a clash during a production race that really just destroyed the motor vehicle. The car was rebuilt by some tech students at Manukau over the last 18 months and returned to the championship. Finished second in Class D behind Grant Liston this year in the New Zealand Production Racing Series. So, neat young guy, close-knit family team, and he's going to look to take out the opening honours here in the first race for the muscle and touring cars category from the ITM 400 in Hamilton.
Right, a very mature race as well, because he's staying off all the white lines where he can. He's not using all the track that's available to him, so he's staying within the confinements of what we call our racing line for the wet. He's certainly not compromising the car or his position as race leader at this stage. So look at that. That's exactly what I was alluding to. He didn't need to make the pass, so we decided, well, there's a couple of corners to go. I've got a big lead. Why compromise anything by trying to pass a car that may or may not see me? Yeah,
well, he's got about a 9-second advantage now over Bruce Anderson. He's just done a stunning job in the big Mustang. So Childs pulls out from behind the lap. Bill McKinnon in the Kobe Exhaust Chevy Nova, and Childs will take the victory here in Hamilton for race 1 of the muscle and touring cars. There's the checkered flag. He does it pretty comfortably, debuting new colours this weekend with support from Bajent Motors. Here's our second place car, the bellowing Mustang of Bruce Anderson. Will cross the line in second, and Paul Mill wasn't too far away from him in the end in the BMW Z3M Coupe. So Logan Childs proving that four-wheel drive is the way to go in the first race for the muscle and touring cars, heading home the big Mustang of Bruce Anderson. Paul Mill in third in the BMW, followed by Morris Shapley, Sean Van Beers in the little Integra, and Kevin Hyde completing the top 6 in the turbocharged Nissan-powered Herb Morgan tyres BMW M3.